One, before we get started with this, again, thank you guys for being here. As you guys heard from David, like, I'm working on specifically some B-reel footage and making a sizzle. So today, this team is working on that. We're also doing some stuff tomorrow, not only at the University of St. Thomas for a couple panels, but we're also going to Ronan, Harrisburg, what Nebu owns in his business, and we're doing a couple shoots. We're putting this stuff together so we can really create some sizzle for my personal brand that I'm working on. So I appreciate you guys being here. We wanted to work and collaborate with David on this type of event, get you guys here, work on this footage, and hopefully, if it's good content and things that people could see value in, our goal is to potentially create a series that we're giving back to the community, because there's so many things that we can do when it comes to helping people find corporate career, helping them get jobs, utilizing LinkedIn, resumes, etc. I was in Arkansas literally on Tuesday. There's a high school there. They have HOSA, Health Occupational, there you go. I'm pretty sure she was in HOSA. I went there to Arkansas to talk to the high school students about the difference between entrepreneurship and corporate career. And the idea there was these students were all getting like different lessons from different speakers. And my goal was to share the businesses that actually Nebu and I did back when we were in college, as well as just my corporate career and the zigzag that I've gone through, to share with them how they can focus on various things to help them when they decide what college they want to go to, as well as which, jobs they want to go into or business to start. So it was just a session to really help them. But that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about Nike's book, or Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, as we kind of tied it with the book. We'll give you a few takeaways from the book. Anybody here actually have read that book? Yeah? A long time ago or recently?
Long time ago.
Yeah. You've read it recently or no? Ages ago? Everybody always told me to check out that book. I read it recently, last year sometime. Books are another thing that I'm really heavily involved in. I read at least a book a month. This year, my resolution was 2 books a month. So the current book I'm reading right now is Chris Voss's Never Split a Difference. Everybody, again, told me to check that out. Last year, my top book that I probably read, I saw it on David's shelf there, is Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, who's the founder or CEO of Disney. It was a really cool book. Netflix's founder had a real cool book. So again, I love this stuff. I have a newsletter that I share specifically content and micro learnings that I use from the books that I read all the time and could give it out externally. So today we'll talk a little bit about Shoe Dog, and then I'm going to go into the concept of branding and then give you guys some actual tactical things that you can do to utilize to help your brand, whether it's for a business you own or when you're working into like your corporate career. Cool? All right, so Shoe Dog. Dominique, it was a while ago, but do you remember anything from that book? Other than like obviously his founding the company?
I remember he was a runner in Oregon.
Yep.
When he graduated, he didn't quite know what he wanted to do. So his parents pretty much foot the bill for him to travel all over the world. And that's pretty much where the inspiration came to him for Nike.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him trying to get the Onitsukas? He was trying to get that account.
Yep, from Japan.
From Japan. And he sold them on it before he even had the warehouse to be able to do it. And yeah, that's
Nope, good one. And that's actually one of the takeaways there. But yeah, he kind of traveled, and this was back in the day when it wasn't the same with flights and phones and technology. Literally, he'd be gone for like so long, traveling, come back. He had his partner that he met, and like they would be long distance relationship, all kinds of stuff. So it was unique just to hear him talk about his life, like growing up. But as you mentioned, what he was doing with selling to that Japanese store, one of the big takeaways in Shoe Dog is selling. And the idea is we're always selling. You're selling yourself at all times. James, I bet you talk about that in your brand. When it's the power of you, it's you are a brand that you're selling. So it's a great book to understand that we're all salespeople. Now, there are some great stories in there. One, he actually tried to be an encyclopedia salesman and he failed bad at it. He thought he was going to be good and he wasn't. But again, he learned like you got to really understand sales. And again, when he was selling his products or even selling people to come join him to work at some of his like locations, it's always about selling. So it's real important that you guys understand that. The other thing ties back to his track days. One of the things Phil Knight talks about is the personal best. He said one of his favorite gifts was a stopwatch, because when you have a stopwatch, you literally could time yourself and see if you could beat yourself. And he always talked about his personal best and everything he did. So it was fantastic to hear about his coach. And it might have been his coach that taught him that about personal best, his track coach. But it was just another key takeaway for me is just like how do you always deliver your personal best? If every day you're doing your thing, is it your personal best or not? The third thing, he had a go-giver mentality. There's actually a book called Go Giver by Bob Berg and James David Mann. I love the book. It's a philosophy that if you actually give, you'll receive because you have the mentality of giving. It's a sales kind of fable, and the guy goes around and learns from this one person that if he just has a go-giver mentality, he'll see the successes he wants. I have a newsletter, literally video about that. But Nike talks about that, or Phil Knight talks about that, and one of the places he does go giving is they came up with some technology that really helped the manufacturing. I forget the exact thing. It was something with rubber, but the idea was, hey, if we actually can do this and it's safer for the people that are working at these factories, we should teach this technology and this process to all shoemakers. And they gave it for free to make sure Adidas and Converse and all those companies were always like looking at the best way to do it, which Nike was doing it. And it wasn't something that he was trying to make money off of. So he had that go-giver mentality. And the last thing, I loved at the end of the book, he talks about Tao a lot. And again, he traveled, he went to places in Asia, like followed like a lot of Buddhism stuff. But his concept was the harder he worked, the better his Tao was. And it's the same concept of the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's what he was trying to share. One last thing I'll talk about Phil Knight. Anybody watch the movie Air? Yes. Fantastic movie. I watched it twice. First time I watched it for the entertainment. Second time I went back. There's so many actual sales skills they talk about in that book. Understanding your competition, right? When, what's his name? Not Phil, but his part. Sonny. So when Sonny is sharing with Jordan's mom about when you walk into Adidas, this is exactly what's gonna happen. When you walk into Converse, this is he knew his competition. He continuously stayed persistent on the sales. He betted on it. There's so many great sales skills. It's not just an entertaining movie about that, but I think there's a lot of things that could apply when you look at your brand and what you're selling and how you come off. So I really enjoyed that movie. I'm gonna go into talking about brand. I would love to hear from you all and anyone like why it's important, personally or professionally. Maybe James, you're a brand expert. I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, it's just that you're selling yourself every day. When you walk out of the house, when you're at the job, wherever you go. So you give people the language to talk about you, basically.
Absolutely. Anyone else on their perspective on just brand? We always think of brand as like a consumer, but are you thinking of it for yourself? And if so, how?
I think your brand is like your reputation, and sometimes it'll precede you. And so like what he was saying, it'll give people the words to speak about you and your brand.
Yep, absolutely.
And what you do.
I'm going to show you guys it's not a quick video. It's like a 5-minute video, but I still think it's powerful and I want you guys to see it. It's a video that they talk about brands, specifically Apple and IBM and Nike and Under Armour. But I want you guys to check it out because I think it really will tie into everything we're going to be discussing.
Coke is just soda. Tylenol, just acetaminophen. And Levi's are just jeans. Yet consumers go out of their way to select these specific brands over others.
An economist would say, how is this possible that a rational consumer would be willing to pay more for exactly the same thing? We love to think about ourselves as rational. That's not how it works. A very famous study done by colleagues at Duke University had flashed either the Apple logo or the IBM logo to 2 randomized groups of participants.
The study found that after being subliminally exposed to the Apple logo, compared to when you've been exposed to the IBM logo, participants performed better on creative tasks.
And the argument is that Apple has been telling you this story over and over again, that Apple is the brand for hip, cool, fun, creative people.
This is the true power of brands. They can influence our behavior in ways that extend way beyond the point of sale. So, to what degree can the influence of brands wreak havoc on our ability to make rational spending decisions? This is Your Brain on Money. This is Americus Reed. He studies identity and marketing at the University of Pennsylvania.
When I make choices about different brands, I'm choosing to create an identity. When I put that shirt on, when I put those shoes on, those jeans, that hat, someone is going to form an impression about what I'm about. So if I'm choosing Nike over Under Armour, I'm choosing a kind of different way to express affiliation with sport. The Nike thing is about performance. The Under Armour thing is about the underdog. I have to choose which of these different conceptual pathways is most consistent with where I am in my life.
And once a consumer makes that choice, their relationship with a brand can deepen to the point where they identify with the brand like family. And once you identify with a brand, it can shape the way you behave.
And it's really interesting because they will also, if someone talks bad about that product, brand, or service, they will be the first to go out and defend. Why? Because an attack on the brand is an attack on themselves.
Michael Platt is a professor of neuroscience, marketing, and psychology whose research demonstrates how our perception of brands influences our decisions.
There's an idea in marketing, which is that we relate to brands in the same way we relate to people. It's like, I love this brand, or I hate this brand. Of course, what people say, right, can often be different from what's really going on in their heads. So we thought, well, why don't we just ask the brain directly?
Michael and his team observed the brains of iPhone users and Samsung Galaxy users with an MRI machine, while they heard good, bad, and neutral news about Apple and Samsung.
Apple customers showed a brain empathy response toward Apple that was exactly what you'd see in the way you would respond to somebody in your own family.
Strangely, Samsung users didn't have any positive or negative responses when good or bad news was released about their brand. The only evidence that Samsung users showed was reverse empathy for Apple news, meaning if the Apple headline was negative, their brain reflected a positive response.
You know, it really shows us that Apple has completely defined the market here. Samsung customers, it seems from their brain data, are only buying Samsung because they hate Apple.
The kicker? The Samsung users didn't report feeling the results their MRIs showed. What was happening in their brains and what they reported feeling towards Apple and Samsung were totally different.
Most people just don't realize that they are subconsciously choosing brands because those brands have some kind of self-expressive value.
You can see there's a lot of power here in terms of shaping consumers' decisions. As we learn more and more about that, we have to think much more deeply about the ethical, legal, and societal implications of doing that.
So as consumers, what can we do to make informed choices? Well, the best thing we can do is be aware of the influence that brands hold.
I think it's important to always pause and think a little bit about, okay, why am I buying this product?
And like it or not, brands aren't going anywhere.
I've heard lots of people push back and say that I'm not into brands. I take a very different view. They're not doing anything any different than what someone who affiliates with a brand is doing. They have a brand. It's just an anti-brand brand. And I think about what is it that I've learned about identity over time. I think a lot of it has to do with the fundamental need that we as humans have to have support systems. Perhaps it was the church, it was the community, it was these other institutions that existed. Now brands have stepped in as pillars of our identity. So I'm very much motivated to see that in that positive light.
All right, guys. I really like this video. I've seen it several times, and I've shared it with a lot of other folks. Hopefully, before I go into this, and I'll pause it right here, so I'll go into the next part. But the idea here is having a consumer mindset when it comes to your own personal brand. As you heard of them, they say like, you know, your brand is like tied to people, right? Like it's how you trust it is almost like how you trust people. And when it comes to your companies or your organization, or even when you are working in the real world, like employees are the new consumers too, or consumer of your company is that person that's looking at your brand. I worked at DailyPay where we focused on helping with recruitment and retention for large companies. And the idea was, hey, if you provide the service, it really impacts your brand and when you're bringing employees. And then once you bring an employee, your culture and your company has to do so much to keep them because they have the choice to go and leave anywhere else. There was all this study that showed basically people that were job hunting, etc. It's kind of like shopping at a grocery store. They have so many different options when they go to looking at websites and things like that. And they could even work somewhere, and Aaron knows that you could work somewhere and literally get an opportunity next day. People are reaching out all the time. Well, if that company's brand isn't keeping him there, then he's going to just pick up and leave, and you could lose good people. So it's that consumer mindset, even for yourself, right? What do you do so that way your organization, your people, your businesses, your customers are looking at you in the way we look at Nike or Under Armour, like they said, or Apple, etc. So it's really important. And what I was going to share after that is, what do you guys feel like is the difference between corporate brand and personal brand?
I feel like it's a whole lot different.
Why do you say that, Ned?
I mean, it's kind of like what they described in the video just now. The same way we affiliate, like the same feelings that and emotions that we get when we think about these corporate brands, we get them when we think about our cousins and our friends, our moms, our dads. And so a lot of the time, you know, the same way that the corporation is selling itself or presenting itself, the same way you're selling yourself and presenting yourself too. The only thing people remember is how you made them feel, which is kind of what the corporate brand does as well.
Absolutely. And that's actually my answer is like, there's no difference. This is me in my corporate America world. I don't wear a shirt and tie. I don't wear suits. I wear what I want to wear. I collect Jordans and I wear my Jordans every day when I'm out and about. I, go dress how I want, but that's the idea is like, you can be who you are. You should be like just your personal, it's that authenticity, right? Like, hey, I am who I am for the organizations I work at. And same way should be when your business is who your business is. And that's why you prosper and, share the things that you do, is because that is who you are. So I truly am a big believer that every one of us shouldn't go and try to be somebody else in order to be the best version of themselves for that company or that business or et cetera, right? I'll give you guys a story. When I worked at Paychex, Paychex is one of the companies that actually had very strict dress code, including no facial hair. I was shocked. I had a leader that allowed me to keep my facial hair, but when I went into the headquarters, they actually made me shave before I could walk into the headquarters. Now, in retrospect, and now that I've grown and stuff, I would never work for a company like that. But, back then, I was young and I was starting my career and I was learning, and that was fine. Had to wear a shirt and tie every day. But again, the world has changed, and I've also grown where it's like, I want to be me when I come into that corporate world, and branding is really important to me. So what I'm going to share with you guys real quick is from this website that I got some just 6 steps on branding that I want to share. And one of the things I'll share is there's a quote there, and it basically says, Career Builder shows that 70% of the people that are hiring does look at your social media before they even hire you. And I'll be honest, I do it when I hire people, right? Look at it. And sometimes the idea is I see if it's even public or private. Like that tells something. My social media is actually private, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, hey, that's my brand. That's who I am. This is my family stuff. Some of you guys are connected to me, and that's what I share. But like my brand is, when it comes to work, I keep it separate, even though I'm not hiding anything and I'm being my authentic self, but that is my brand when it comes to it. But I just want you all to know that people do look at that. So do consumers. If you're selling something, I look up anything that I'm going to go and buy or see, and I'm looking at reviews and I'm reading it. So it's real important that whatever that brand you're portraying, product, service, or even just yourself as an employee, it's really important that it ties to that social media and you're showcasing it out there the right way. Now, the 6 steps. 1 is defining your unique value prop. That's just, what are you selling? What are you doing? What are you providing? That's what that means, right? When I did it to that high school just this past week, I told them, like, when you grow up, like, whatever you want to do, if you grow up, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be, that's what you're doing, is you're defining what is that value prop you bring, right? If you own a business or you work at a specific company, you have a specific value prop you're bringing. Aaron Martin is a leader at PayActive. His business provides on-demand pay for businesses. So that's what his unique value prop is. He brings that to the table. He also manages a team, so he brings that. So the idea is, like, you got to define that and know that when you're looking at your brand, and that's his like corporate brand. But at the same time, you then create an online presence, and it's consistent. That's the big part of it. Even Americus in that video said, like, it's that brand that's doing it over and over and over, right? Nike's band commercial, or however they're playing out when somebody wins a championship and they're showcasing them, like Jalen Hurts and stuff like that. They do it over and over and over. It's not a one-time thing. It's not a flavor of the month. So it's creating a consistent online presence. So if you have a business, are you constantly showcasing what you do and provide? David does a fantastic job in showcasing all the events he's posting at Class Bookstore, so it's consistently showing people, here's what we're doing now. Here's what we have this week. Here's who's coming to speak this week. 3 is showcasing your expertise. It's whatever that value prop is and whatever you're selling, you showcase that within your online presence. So in David's situation, showing the people that he's bringing in that are either authors or people that are promoting his poetry night and bringing poets and showcasing what this store does for the community, right? If you're working somewhere, it's showcasing why you're a successful leader or why your company does on-demand pay and what's the benefit of it and how you can be an expert. 4 is networking effectively. It will impact all of you guys in whatever role you are in. I just talked to Dominique about, hey, we should collaborate and see what Ronan's doing. And I've talked to David about, hey, bringing in maybe working with Cash App at Square, because I work at Square and Cash App, and talking about how we could collaborate more. There's a lot of opportunity for us to work together if we network effectively. But that only comes out if you have all these things and then you're out there doing that networking, right? I'm putting this Be Real together so that way I can go network with the C-suites that I meet with dinner every week in New York City and show them, hey, check out this website or this video now, and then come to their company and be able to do certain things. But that happens because I'll have all this and then I can network effectively. And then you also want to get recommendations, endorsements, references, etc. Same thing if you're working and you guys are graduating and going into your career, like you want references. You want people to say, hey, you know, ask them about me and see what they say if I should come and work for you. Or you're having a business and you have those customers that are, you know, giving testimonials. You're sharing that. After every session that I typically do this outside or even internally at Square, I send out surveys so that way I can get testimonials and get people to tell me like what I did well or what I didn't, so I can use those endorsements. And then the last thing, I just mentioned it, it's being authentic, right? It's being who you are and not trying to change it and being fake, etc. And when I say authentic and consistent and creating this, showcasing the expertise and all this, this is a culmination of what I do at Square with my internal newsletters. It's me. Look at the videos, look at pictures, look at what I'm wearing every day when I'm talking to my company. 12,000 people, Jack Dorsey, Jim McKelvey, it doesn't matter, billionaires, Nick Molnar, founder of Afterpay, billionaires. Well, when I have a one-on-one with them, I'm rocking my Jay-Z shirt, and it's fine. That's me being authentic, and they know who I am and what I bring. But these are the videos that I do. It's a consistent process. It's constantly showcasing the work. It's constantly showcasing updates, expertise, like those brand 6 steps. It's also, you know, showing like the pictures of where I'm at. And I also do a weekend update. So after, on the second page of this, it shows whatever I did with my family for the weekend. So I inform all of my teams, like, hey, this is what I did for the weekend. I'd love to hear what you're doing. But I'm being vulnerable and showcasing me and my brand at all times. But like this consistency is what allows someone to build culture and have a brand and showcase it and be able to, you know, share not only internally, but externally with all these different people on like, hey, this is how you can do great stuff, be authentic, and create an online presence. And this is kind of what I'm trying to replicate out in the real world now. If you go and like at the end, I'll, like I said, have some LinkedIn QR codes to connect with me, but I now am doing some YouTube pages with Show Forward and showcasing like my content. I was just sharing with them that I have a couple sessions that I'm going to send them links to that could help with calendar discipline and mentorship. Nebu's actually seen some of these things because he's been in some of the sessions I've done at Square, and then I record them and then I'm presenting them elsewhere so that way I can use my content and build my portfolio. All right, I want to keep talking about brand, but I'm going to transition to something else that I think is really impactful when you look at brand. So one, these are some just stats I just want to share you. 19% increase in email open rate using video in the subject line. 90% of consumers are saying promotional videos help them in their buying process. And I think 97% people say when a video explains something to them, it's much better for them and they buy. Video is changing the world, and I truly believe in video as a way to connect with people. My sales teams use video when we're talking to new prospects. So I know you guys are talking about prospecting. We actually use video prospect. I mean, actually, when Aaron was on my team before, we would use video a lot, Vidyard, etc. These are data from Vidyard. They said from 2023 to 2024, video has increased, I think it says 88% in video creation. And then shorter videos keep viewers more engaged. Video length data only tells part of the story. So like there's a lot of cool data behind video nowadays. I want to show you 4 other things that I learned from this company called Vengreso. Video adoption has accelerated since the pandemic. And it says most people are visual learners anyway. And then it separates you from your competitors. So if you're in sales, like Aaron has done before, when we used to do video at DailyPay, the idea was, hey, we are talking to this big business and we're sharing our content with video, and then our competitors were not. They didn't see all the video engagement that we did. We would actually video ourselves, showcase the demos, present, send follow-ups with video, prospect with video. But even for your own business, right? If you're on video, and you guys see this nowadays with social media, and you're looking at like TikTok as well as like Reels and Instagram, wherever, people are using video to promote their businesses. It shows customers that you care when you're doing video. It says when messaging, it allows to show compassion. The idea is video really connects with people. They get to see you and trust you. This is why I did all those video examples, because then all my teams get to see who I am all the time, even though we don't get to see each other every day. And then the science actually supports it. So what it says is there's mirror neurons that actually trigger our brain. So when we watch video, like we're watching TV and we get like into a show and we get attached to a person, it's because the video shows that the brain connects with them differently. I watch Jimmy Fallon like every night, and I follow him on Instagram, and I like, it's like I know him. I know his 2 kids, his wife. I don't know Jimmy Fallon, never even met him, but because of the video aspect and you just watching it and learning, you get this connection with them. Same applies to my work, where it's like I have 30 plus members on my team. I don't see them every day, but they see me every day on video. I send them a video message. I share with them if I'm gonna like even congratulate them on something. I share a video through Slack, etc. The idea is video becomes more powerful and it really connects with them, so they feel, you know, like they're connected with you and they trust you. And I want to show you guys an example of how Square uses video in everyday work. We're doing trainings on video. We're sending like demos. We're recognizing people through like, you know, video top AE here. We do like congratulations, celebrations. In Slack, you'll see all these video comments. We're doing newsletters via video, other Slack messages, as well as emails. The idea is video is everywhere. And if there's a lot of people that tell me, well, Sean, I'm not good with video. I'm not used to it. I don't like to see myself, etc. What I'm sharing is that this is the world we're going into, and you want to get used to video because it's going to help you, again, whether it's your business you're selling, a company you work for, recruiting that you're doing, or trying to get into places. When I actually interview for a job, I do a video resume that I send my video out to them before my interview. So I have an interview, I go through my resume, and I tell them what my background is, everything that I've done in about a 5-minute video. And when I share that, now when I go into that interview, we don't have to sit there for 5 to 10 minutes to talk about my background. We could go deep into that item, like what they want to know more about, but now they've had a video that shares with them, hey, here's what I've done, the companies I've worked for, my roles, why I left that company and went to the next company. It's just a great way to utilize in actual interview processes. This one, I started at Square. I oversaw 70 plus people. I'm not going to meet everybody on day one. So on day one, they got a video. They actually got it the week before, a video introduction, 15-minute video or so, or 12 minutes of, hey, here's my background. Here's why I chose the company. I also want you guys to know a little bit about me personally, and I share a collage of like my family pictures and things like that. I wanted to connect with all 70 people before I actually started there. And it changes the way they absorb me on day one. I know I shared with a few of y'all that I actually resigned from Square in my last day is April 1st, and I'm starting with a new company. And for that new company, I know it's coming, again, it'll be public later, but with the new company, I've already put my new video together and I've already sent it out to them so they got to know me before day one. And I got messages back already like, oh my goodness, we're excited that you're joining. Oh my goodness, I can't wait till you start. This got me so pumped up. The CEO sent me a message that said, you've pumped me up for my own company because of the video you sent. But like that's the kind of things that you can do with your brand and when you combine that with video. And then this is what I'm doing on LinkedIn with my newsletter, showcasing basically like a hype clip, so that way you can click into the entire newsletter and get the 3 to 5 minute micro learning, or you can even sign up for the subscription for the newsletter. And I'm just doing it through video, and I'm doing it on LinkedIn. And the reason I'm bringing that up is LinkedIn has been one of the fastest, or videos have been one of the fastest things growing on LinkedIn this past year. You know, again, people think of LinkedIn as, hey, it's a networking tool, or it's where I go for jobs, but it's so much more than that. If you're active on LinkedIn, it's really a powerful tool. It really showcases your brand, whether it's you or a company you're providing. And because video is becoming so popular now on LinkedIn, it's a great place for somebody to go out there and get other people to be consumers of you. So not only is it the fastest growing format, it's saying LinkedIn members love to watch video, more than 1.4 times more engagement when there's a video involved. So people are actually watching the videos on LinkedIn. And then the things that you can do on LinkedIn, and what I'm hoping you get some takeaways that you could go, hey, how could I apply this? But best LinkedIn videos, under 2 minutes. Again, I do my hype reel, which is about 60 seconds or less. And then they could click into my newsletter that will be 3 to 5 minutes learning, but keeping it under 2 minutes, right? Share your know-how, make it your own, cite your sources, etc., and then let your personality shine. That's why that video format's there, so you can show who you are. Such a different concept than just reading text of people or reading an email or just reading some sort of post. It's just showing all those different things. And here are like 5 things that you can actually take away and utilize in LinkedIn to like promote yourself. One, right? Share tips of like your work, etc., right? And work lessons. I kind of do that already when I'm talking about my newsletter, sharing people like tips and things that I've gone through my experience, right? Comment on industry news and trends. That's easy to do. David just went to a conference for book owners in Denver. I'm assuming you learned a lot. Guess what? David could post a video out there and say, literally, I just came from this conference. Here's the key things that they're talking about in the world. And what that does is makes his brand that he's an industry expert. Like he's a bookstore that understands how it's done. And now other people are going to not only want to learn from him, but also become a consumer of Class Bookstore. Or share your professional news. Hence, my LinkedIn message today was actually that Square, I'm leaving Square, but like that's the idea. I'm sharing my professional news, or when you get promoted, or when you're doing something specific or getting highlighted, recognized. I love seeing when some of our sales reps post like, hey, I just earned like the President's Club achievement and I'm gonna go on a trip, or I've earned this bonus, and they're sharing their professional news. Take us behind the scenes. I think that would be cool. I mean, someone like Neb, you could take Ronan and all the projects they do over there, show us behind the scenes on like what you're doing, and then promote Ronan on LinkedIn so people can know like, wow, not only did he show us behind the scenes and was real vulnerable about their business, like I want to be a consumer of that. I want to go to the next Ronan event. I'm going to book them for my next event I have for my corporation. Or break down company news. Again, Aaron could tell us PayActive's next big thing that's happening. I think I saw somebody on PayActive post a new partner that they just signed up. Well, Aaron could go on there and tell people, hey, this is a newest partner. We're excited to work with them because of these reasons, etc. So these are just 5 content frameworks that LinkedIn, I like they say, cite sources. I literally joined a LinkedIn branding and video course to go through all this, and I just took screenshots of it. But I watched LinkedIn's like professional brand person, kind of like your type of role, James, at LinkedIn, and I watched her video and like webinar to get that. So what I'm going to show you guys next to finish up pretty soon. One, this video is going to go, and this is I think it's like 7 minutes long. It's just consistent LinkedIn posts for me over the past 5 years. And it's whatever posts. It's, hey, I'm hiring for a role, so I'm looking for sales reps to apply for this, so I'm sharing that. Or maybe I'm sharing the culture that we have so people would want to come work with us. Or maybe it's a specific product that I want to highlight, that we had an upgrade or something like that, or recognize specific people. But one of the big things I did, because I oversee channel sales, which is partnerships, I'm highlighting the different partners that we work with. Paytronix there, Radiant there, me out there. This is my team that I just hired globally. I showed like the charity work that my wife did. I'm showcasing like the Cash App partnership with Basketball Overtime League, or some gifts that my Afterpay team gave me, like different things, just constantly posting. But the point I'm showing here is that it's just going. It's just going, right? 5+ years. You'll see Square, then you're gonna see a switch to Afterpay. You're gonna see Daily Pay on it. You're gonna see Paychex on it. It doesn't matter where I was. It's just consistent posts on LinkedIn that's built my brand to the point where I have people that'll ping me and be like, hey, I've seen the cultures that you build. Whenever you have an opening, I'd like to come work for you. And I get that passively because of the connections I have and what I'm posting on LinkedIn. But I'm gonna show you guys some more. This is just gonna keep playing, so just let it go. You might see something cool in there, whatever. The great thing about it is I get to see who is looking at my posts. So if I am trying to recruit salespeople for my teams, guess what? I get a lot of people, salespeople are looking at it. If I want specific partners and I post a partner, I want to see if the demographic's being hit or if not. But the data helps me make sure that I'm keying into the right people that I'm posting for. This is a CEO at 7Shifts. We partner with them at Square. Neb, I think you use 7Shifts, right? Well, I started partnering with 7Shifts to really create that relationship. So now that Neb, you can actually have an amazing partnership with the people there. But look at this, I'm the CEO. I understand that you spent time with Nick and with the team recently. I just wanted to connect. A CEO wanted to reach out to me of a company that we work with because he saw I'm working with his team only because I posted on LinkedIn. And now I'm connected with them. So then when I saw him personally, I've started building a relationship with them. And now I can go to him, even if it was, hey, Jordan, when next time 7Shifts does a sales kickoff, here's a sizzle reel. I want you to see I could come do a sales kickoff for you and show your team how they could do this, this, or this. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you use LinkedIn and create relationships and stuff. Or here's a CRO of Paytronix, Charles Gray. I've met him a couple times. I want to thank Shohan and Square for the hospitality, terrific time in New York City. He reposted what I posted. Not only is he posting it, but every one of his connections are now seeing what I was able to do with them. And guess what? He invited me to Puerto Rico in January, and I went there for their kickoff, and I spoke at their sales kickoff. Free trip to Puerto Rico thanks to him, right? So like that happened because of this connection. Or I want to show you guys this. I posted something on LinkedIn. These are the comments. It was about Radiant, who I partner with. Thank you, Square, for joining us at Radiant headquarters. We went to their headquarters. It was one of the posts over there. Well, this was awesome right here. This is Adam Cardona of T-Mobile, Strategic Partnerships. He said, I love this partnership. We contacted Adam. We're working with them. A year later, we became partners with T-Mobile, one of the big companies that we wanted to get into, but it started because he saw what I was posting and started going, wow, I love the way you guys partner, and that allowed us to win an account with T-Mobile. Or Juan George here, Shohan recently connected with Square via Jolene, one of my reps. At RLC, Postola, whatever, I want to talk to you. We connected, and now I'm passing information to our marketing team, and we're coming to one of the events that he creates with 858 partners. So now we're going out to their events just because of the LinkedIn posts, etc., or LinkedIn messaging. He actually met somebody, and then he messaged me, and that's how we connected. This is an account manager at Square that's just showcasing my stuff. Again, internal people that I don't even work with, but just connecting and showing like, thank you, Shohan, for like doing this for us. And then, hey, whenever there's opportunity, this is 10 months ago, whenever there's opportunity, I'm using LinkedIn to highlight Class Bookstore when I can, or Ronin Rentals, or etc. But the point is, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool that we can promote each other's businesses and help each other to get more clients. And it's not, hey, somebody that might just walk in the door, but it could be somebody that contacts him and then goes, hey, my company's actually gonna be ordering all these books for our training now. I'll go through you and buy all these books. David's actually done orders for Square because I've connected with him and said, hey, I need some books for a specific training or a leadership offsite or etc. But that's the kind of connections you have. Another internal person, this is like the head of account management, posting internally my posts that are on LinkedIn. So she's sharing it within our company. Another thing, someone posted like all the remote companies and created a database. I said, I noticed Block, they didn't have Block on there. I said, Block, all the brands are remote first. And then she put, thank you for adding it. I'm going to include it in my database and another post in a few weeks. So someone that's highly showcasing people, all the companies to go after if you want a remote job, well, I made sure our company was on there just through LinkedIn. David, you remember this post? I do. David Landry, if you can see this, have a relevant connection at HCC. He wanted to get a job at HCC and get to try to be a teacher or a professor over there. Hey, Christina Robinson, who I used to work for at University of Phoenix, and Teresa Washburn, who worked there too. You guys work at HCC. I want you guys to see this. Teresa, hey, this is the person that you need to email. Or if you can't get in touch with them, hit me up. Yep. David, make sure you do that. LinkedIn connected him to what he's trying to do because of consistently being on there and doing these posts and watching all this stuff and all the networks that I'm creating from that. And then it's always awesome to see all the demographics. I joke with my kids who do not think I'm cool and an influencer that, hey, I have more followers on here than you have on your Instagram, because I know Des likes to compete, but I got more followers, I got more likes, I got more stuff, but you know, they have their things. They don't care about LinkedIn, but again, it's a powerful tool for the amount of people that I've reached. And this is I took this a while ago, but since then it's even grown. But that was, hey, 108,000 people reaching of like all the things that I'm still showcasing over there. You guys can see. I think we're at Daily Pay now, huh? This is before your time though. That's old school Daily Pay, but like it's just going. That's the thing. And then you'll see paychecks in a little bit, etc. Last one I'll show you guys. They just posted this about, I think earlier this week, Damon John, who I follow, I do a whole session on Rise and Grind about his calendar, like how he works in the day. I love talking about like his book. And are you familiar with that book, Rise and Grind? I love that book. And then it's a story about, he interviews 16 different people and how they become successful. And the idea is everybody is really big on their calendar and prioritization. And I do a whole session about it and I use that book as the baseline. But he said it's Black History Month, which support, guess what? Rentals at Ronin, you should put a LinkedIn. That'll make it easier than a website because you didn't see it because you didn't have a LinkedIn on it. But then Class Bookstore, LinkedIn tag, and then show on when I come through HCX next time, barbershops, whatever, I'll stop by, etc. Awesome. I wanted David to know like this guy said that. And it's but the point is, this is how we also connect each other and help each other so that way we can, whether it's getting a job or promoting your business, LinkedIn is a powerful tool and it's, again, about being consistent. I'm going to leave it with a couple pro tips for you guys. So if you're using LinkedIn for the first time, here's the things, right? Just block out 15 minutes to execute it. It doesn't take long. The post I wrote this morning that I did it last night, I wrote it real quick, had it ready, and then this morning I posted it. So you can block out time to do this literally based on when you want to use LinkedIn. Neb, you were saying like, it's a lot of work, etc. You're asking me about run it? You could do this yourself. He was asking me to run it for him, but I was like, you could do this. Drafted in advance. Like I just said, I wrote it yesterday. I put it together and it's already drafted. You could also use schedule posts. So you could actually draft it, put it in there, and then have it scheduled for when you want it to go out. Like maybe I don't want to send this out yet, but I do, something's coming up or a new event. I set it up and I post it and I have it out there. There's so much content you could use. You saw that LinkedIn, you could share industry news. You can share other content, cite people, repost things. Like it's not like you have to come up with everything. You could probably come up with stuff and use AI to figure out things too, or ChatGPT, but personally, there's so many things you could post. I posted one about unreasonable hospitality. Do you know that book? Will Guardia. He is the executive chef or an owner of Six and Park or whatever the restaurant's called in New York City, one of the top restaurants. He talks about a story becoming a top restaurant. But it was such a book that talked more about a restaurant world and about corporate and culture and like how to manage your day and everything. I posted and I just said, I read this book. Here's the book title. And this is everything I learned from the book. That was literally my post. Nothing else, just sharing what I learned. Plan your cadence. One of the things I do is I actually plan out when I'm gonna post and what I'm gonna post. I actually have a chart that says on Monday, this is what's gonna go out. Like I knew my Friday post today. I have my post for Monday, I have my post for next Wednesday, and I have my post for next Friday already in advance because I know my cadence. And I typically do a cadence of either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday on each week, just depending on how much content I have ready that I wanna share. And then repost with text. So, and I see a lot of people sometimes just repost. You ever seen that, Neb? Or like James, you see it, right? People just repost. When you repost it with text. It actually creates more people seeing it. I see when you just repost it by itself, you're really helping the other person, which is great. But if you want to also build your brand, repost and add your thoughts or text to it. And the last one is I've seen pics and videos gain more exposure. When I post something with just either a link or just my thoughts versus when I actually put a video or a picture of something, it gets me a lot more reactions, likes, outreach, etc. So I would recommend these pro tips. Last thing I'll leave with you guys, when it comes to branding, it's intentionality plus consistency. That's brand. What you're doing intentionally to put out there and that you're doing it all the time and you're very consistent. That will create a brand. And I put this on here jokingly because it's one of my favorite terms is don't be flavor of the month. That's basically what it is, all the flavor of the months. Like that's what I see and I hate the most, especially in the corporate world, is people that go, hey, we're gonna do this because we did either engagement survey or it's the new year and they kick it off. Neb, you probably have this with Mike Mitterrand all the time, like something new, it's the new thing for January. And then it's like done and they forgot about it and they don't do anything. Aaron, you probably see that too. Company initiative. We're going to do this because our HR team came in. They talked about diversity. So everybody's going to do diversity training and we're going to be the most diverse people, etc. And then guess what? After that training, annually, they'll talk about it again this year. They didn't do anything throughout the year. They didn't have any intentionality behind it. I actually have a podcast on culture of diversity and now you have to be intentional. Aaron knows this because I create diverse teams wherever I work and it's intentional. I don't want to be in a environment where everybody looks exactly the same. So it's intentionality. But again, don't be flavor of the month. The idea is like whatever you're going to do, even if it's a business. I joke about this because Neb hears this all the time. Des starting a business, etc. But it's like this month, this was your business. Next month, this is your business. I'm great that she's trying, but like if you don't have consistency, you're not going to get anything up and off the ground. And I think you, the business owners here, know that for a fact. Like you have to continue doing it and be consistent. It can't be flavor of the month. So that's all I'm going to leave you guys with today. We could do some Q&A. There's QR codes. So the two QR codes, I think you can see one. This is my LinkedIn. So literally if you scan that, it'll connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not already connected with me. And then this one is actually my newsletter. I think, my newsletter. So if you click that, it'll actually just go to subscribe to Show Forward's Pay It Forward newsletter. You just put your first name, last name, email, and I send them out every 2 weeks. This Sunday will be the volume 4 that's going out. I've already put it together. It's already done. It's already set up for my cadence because it was all intentionality and set up. But I'd love for you guys to get the knowledge. I'm talking about the book Drive by Dan Pink, which talks about motivation. And people think money is what motivates people. But this book talks about how mastery, autonomy, and purpose truly motivates some of the people that are in complex solution types of jobs. So want to give you guys that. Leave that message. Hopefully there's some content you learned here. And if anybody wants to chat or ask any questions, it's perfectly fine. Outside of that, we have still drinks and food. Check out some of the books, network and mingle. I mean, I shared some names here, so looking for a job. Aaron Martin's always hiring. Aaron, who was your last hire?
Stephanie from your company, Square, he recommended a young lady who came to my site.
How's she doing?
She is phenomenal, by the way. She's excellent.
Stephanie Ang worked at Square as a BDR. We were talking about BDRs, right? She was a mid-market BDR. She wanted to become an AE, and she went through the interview process, not for my team because I didn't have any opening spots, so I introduced her to somebody. They didn't hire her, and I was like, I can't believe they didn't hire her, and she was really upset. But she knew that she was going to leave Square, or she was in a position where they were going to get rid of her, so she reached out to me. I gave her several different companies to look at. Paychex was one, PayActive one. She actually got offers from both. She chose Aaron. She's super happy. She messaged me literally today about how grateful she is, and Aaron's happy with the work she does. But that's because of, again, connecting people and helping them. And again, this is kind of my pay it forward mentality is how do I get you guys set up? I mean, Neb, how did you get to Square? All right. Yeah. But that's also, Neb also worked for me at University of Phoenix, etc. So we're always there. But that's the thing. I hope you guys can network, talk to people. Dominique has a store next door also, curator of dopeness, selling different things there. Again, learn, see what he has, etc. James Martin here is from University of St. Thomas, does his own brand stuff. Great for you to connect with him on LinkedIn and see all his posts and different things that he does. I believe you said March 23rd, you have an event here by Herman Park, like a networking brunch, etc. Like these are ways that we could all connect. But I think LinkedIn is a great way for you to get outside of the community and to everyone across the globe.
And I will say about Shohan, he really is consistent, and he does do everything with intention, right? And so when he first hired me at Daily Pay, this was years ago, and I didn't know anyone. About 2 weeks before I got hired, he sent me an email with a bunch of stuff. But one of the things he sent was a video of himself in your bathrobe doing a tour of your house. And I was like, and
you got to give more story to that.
No, but there's more story. But it made me. It was like MTV Cribs.
That's why. It was during the pandemic.
Yes.
2 weeks into it,
Well,
for my
point is-
corporate, I'd made an MTV Cribs video. So it was a robe over regular clothes, but showcasing my fridge and all.
But my point is, when he talks about being intentional, being vulnerable, he definitely lives that. He definitely is that, right? And he does create this community of really high performers because he knows what he wants to get out of his team. And he doesn't tell his team to do something he hasn't done himself. So all these strategies about LinkedIn and putting videos out there, Shohan, it's been pressure tested, and he's done it, and he's been really effective at it.
Planted him here intentionally. Just kidding. Any other questions or thoughts? If not, like we could network. But again, if anybody has specific questions, go ahead, Nick.
I mean, I've known you like for a really long time.
Since
Like,
ninth grade.
What was the impetus for your, I guess, start into going down the path of like branding yourself in this way?
In show forward Brandon way or working wise? Just working wise.
Just because I don't remember it being that I don't remember it being that intentional, even though you had a fantastic personal brand when we were young. In this way. So what was the start for like to go down this route in terms of like branding yourself on social media, branding yourself out there as it pertains to like a specific job, utilizing that to get to step.
It's tough. I mean, you were with me in Vegas when we were at University of Phoenix and we went to Zappos, or I went to Zappos and I saw like what Zappos does with culture. That really was what changed my leadership style. And that was my first leadership. So I didn't even have a style. I was learning and absorbing to go, what kind of leader do I want to be? I went to Zappos. And are you guys familiar with Zappos? Amazon bought them. It's the shoe store. So Tony Hsieh, who also has a book, Delivering Happiness, he passed away not too long ago, but in a fire, which sucked. But he had a company where culture was all about the people. Like if you take care of the people will take care of the customers. And he actually was the first one that's like, we don't have offices, we sit on the floor. Nowadays, everybody does it, but back then, this is again 2009. So it's like, hey, he actually gave up his office. All their offices for their executives became conference rooms, and he sat on the floor. So I've done this tour. I see everything Zappos. I read the book, and I'm like, I think that's what helped me with that culture mindset of like, this is what I want to do as a leader. But I think that the social media stuff probably just came with like looking at technology and adapting as I go. And I think it's that continuous improvement mindset. So another big thing I talk about is Mamba mentality and continuously improving. Are you better today than you were yesterday? So the reading the books, like watching the videos, learning constantly, getting to the point where it's like, hey, how can I continue to promote my culture? All I was trying to really do is promote the culture. And I think it tied when I wanted to recruit people at Paychex, because that's probably where I hit LinkedIn more after University of Phoenix and Living Social. Paychex, it's like I need to recruit people, so I'm going to use this forum as a way to showcase our amazing culture. And as I kept showcasing the culture, I started using it as a recruiting tool, and then it just evolved more and more, and even to the point now where it's like, hey, how can I give back? But that's probably where it was. I was focused on culture, and then that second stint in leadership, because I took a step back to go back to a rep and then came back as a leader. That second stint, I was like, what could I do to make sure I could recruit people? Because at Paychex, recruiting was huge. Actually, that's where I was trying to recruit Aaron initially, and met him, had him interview, etc. We went on a field ride trying to get him to work for me there, but that didn't work out. But it's like I was constantly thinking about what could I do to recruit great talent, and it's showcasing my culture out there.
I do have one other question.
Go ahead.
A lot of what you are talking about right now works really well for your personality type, right? And you mentioned that people should be authentic in what they're trying to do, right? What are some suggestions you may have for people whose personality type might not lend itself to being as publicly facing as something like this would require?
Yeah, I think it's you gotta slow grind into it, right? You're not gonna get it right overnight and do it. It takes practice. I wasn't always doing this. I mean, I remember when I did my first session in Jersey City. You might have been there when we did at Jersey City, and it's like a speech amongst the 64 reps that worked for me at that time. And I actually came out to the Jay-Z song of that one too. And but I was nervous as hell, and that was my biggest group at that time at University of Phoenix, and I was my third role only, right? That was in 2010, and I'm young, and I have this huge group, and it's my first big speech in front of everybody, and I was nervous as hell. I don't think I'm like this, that I'm automatic like this. I think it took time, and I grew, and I constantly practice and get better. So somebody that might have a harder time, I'd say practice makes perfect, right? Put a camera up and record. When I do these newsletters, I do practice it beforehand, etc. Have somebody else watch it. Be vulnerable. And that's the other big thing is there's a book, Keith Ferrazzi. I'm always reference books because that's how I like learn and work. But Keith Ferrazzi's Who's Got Your Back. It says vulnerability is key to building teams and relationships. It's a networking book really, but I use it for my teams. But vulnerability, and it's you got to be vulnerable. And if you can, and you're not worried about getting your feelings hurt, go do it, try it, practice it, get better. And then the more you do it, it's going to get you out of the comfort zone. But that's what's going to help you grow, and then eventually you'll have it. Yeah. But it took me time. It wasn't just automatic. Right? Because you said it, you knew me, and it was a certain point I started doing this. I wasn't doing a lot of this all the time.
Well, I think for sure not on this scale, but I think the personality type was always
Gotcha.
there. We're doing dating options, and you're the host. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So
we got more context behind all this, guys. College fundraiser at St. Thomas.
Yeah. I'm just saying. So I'm talking about for the people that maybe aren't like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. And someone asked me a long time ago, how do you come up with all these team building events and this and that, or creating these types of forums? And a lot of it is well, I did it a lot in college. So it's just repetition of doing some of these things that happen. So the more you do it, the more you'll get an opportunity to just become better at it, right? It's probably what Kobe would say. You go and practice, shoot how many shots you got to do to get that shot right.
You mentioned, when you were at Paychex that, the culture was very conservative. How would your personality now fit into a company like that? Would you try to change the culture, or would you try to fit in?
No, I would not fit in. I'm going to change it. But that's also how I go in almost anywhere is how can I change it for the better, right? Not if I want to make it more diverse, if I want to make it where we're celebrating more. Square actually had a lack of celebration and recognition. So I created the President's Club and all that stuff that they have now, but they didn't have that. So I went there and changed that culture for the better. So what I could. So yeah, Paychex would be a whole different role. I don't think they have some of those rules nowadays because things have changed. But if I went there and they had specific things, it's this is who I am. If you want me, then that's what you're gonna get. It's staying authentic to who you are. And listen, I know I'm not trying to brag about it and to the point where it's there's people that have jobs and they can't do anything but be at the job, and I get that. But what I hope is that you can get to the point where you can be yourself always in whatever forum you work and not have to be somebody else. Cool. All right, guys. I know it took a lot longer because of mingling and starting late, but feel free to continue networking. Have some more food and drinks if it's still there. I don't know if it's there. Yes. Okay, yeah. There should be plenty of food, but I appreciate you guys all being here and just being a part of this, and again, helping me continue building my brand and taking it to the next level. So, thanks so much. Good stuff.